everyone, Kate here, and I wanted to do a sort of check-in and library haul and just kind of chatting about the next couple months of the reading year and then looking forward to 2024. And yeah, just sitting down, you know, I pre-film for Victober, and so I haven't filmed for over a month, and it feels, I really started to miss it. So it's just always so gratifying to remember how much I love making videos and getting to have a conversation with you all in the comments. And just thank you to anyone who left lovely comments and watched my videos or liked them during Victober. I really appreciate, there was seriously a flood of people saying thank you, Kate, for taking the time to make these videos. So I just felt very appreciated for the labor of love that I had put forward for those videos. And it was just, it's been so fun seeing all the enthusiasm that is out there in the world for Victorian literature. When I feel like sometimes, you know, in my personal life, I might not know that many readers of Victorian literature, then it's times like that, getting to see all those comments, it's just a lovely, lovely time. Although I have to say that over the course of the year, I had started to feel a bit kind of, I don't know, out-hosted. So I had thought about simplifying things and kind of just how I wanted to rework everything. And one of the things that I decided is to not do an official Cloak and Dagger Christmas readathon this year. If you are new to my channel, Cloak and Dagger Christmas is a readathon that I host every December with some lovely friends. And we read mysteries, and we came up with prompts. And it's interesting because I know for sure, when I think about it, that I want to read mysteries in December. But when I kept thinking about making an announcement video, it just felt, it felt daunting and overwhelming. So I felt really good about it once I made the decision and I let the other co-hosts know. And on top of that, I feel a little bit bad not hosting it though. One of our co-hosts, Janelle from Too Fond of Books, she passed away earlier this year, and I am still really sad about it. And I know that Janelle would want us to carry on, but I also know that Janelle would have understood had she been around still, and I had sent her a message saying I was just feeling a bit overwhelmed and out-hosted. So I will still very much be reading mysteries in December. I'm very excited to do that. I just don't feel like making an event out of it, if that makes any sense. So I am feeling really good about that decision, especially after just going all out for Victober, to then have a really kind of calm and low-key sort of end of the year. And then looking ahead to the next year, I have a Patreon book club, and it is just such a lovely, lovely community of people. The one thing that I do regularly are reading sprints every Thursday evening. And that's a really lovely time where you can come and be social for a while, and then you get to read for a while. I love the balance of it. And then looking to the next year, we typically have been reading a Victorian novel every other month. Although this year we kept picking short Victorian books. And so then we ended up several months in a row reading a Victorian book each month. But typically it is every other month. And I've decided that in the new year, on the in-between months, to have a kind of cozy, life-softening sort of book. The kinds of books that I love to talk about besides Victorian literature, I thought that would be a really nice kind of evolution within my Patreon book club. And so in the month of January, we will be reading and discussing The King's General by Daphne du Maurier. On Patreon, book discussions are, you can come to the Zoom discussions and you can have your camera off, your microphone off, or you can have your camera off but your microphone on, or you can just type in the chat. I also record the discussions, so I think some people just are more comfortable watching the discussion back later on. Or it's also nice if some people really wanted to attend but they had a kind of schedule conflict, then they can still watch it back later on. So I don't yet know what the February Victorian book will be, and in just a couple days we're going to vote on that. But I just wanted to let people know, if you were interested in kind of getting finding a community of bookish people at a more involved level than taking part in commenting on booktube videos and being on social media, which I love those. Those aren't going anywhere. I'll still be making videos on my channel. Then you can consider it. But if you are happy to just watch my content and leave comments now and again, then I'm really delighted to interact with you in that way. So I don't want to talk about it too much to make it seem like I'm like a walking advertisement, because I do it just for the love of it. But I also want people to know if they were interested. So then kind of thinking about the rest of the reading year, I am very much looking forward to kind of post-Victober reading. My Victober reading was mediocre at best. I didn't really have any new to me book that wowed me, and I realized I really rely on that to happen during Victober, which is a ton of pressure to put on a reading month. But since the very first Victober, my reading life has really evolved, in that before I was just saving all my Victorian literature to read during Victober, and then I would kind of not really touch it the rest of the year. Whereas now, particularly with the project of reading 25 Victorian books this year, it's just different. It's, really become a regular part of my reading life, and I am really, really relieved, because then it kind of takes the pressure off Victober. Do I wish my reading went better during Victober? 100%. It's just the best thing to be elated about Victorian literature at the same time that everyone else is elated about Victorian literature. But is it a reading tragedy? No, it is not. I will be okay. And I will have a video that I'll talk about my Victober reading, and I will do a video talking about the 25 Victorian books. Although, please comment down below. I'm a little bit above 25 because of Victober. So if you would like the video to be limited to just the 25, or just wait until the end of the year and kind of do those. Should I do a ranking? The ranking seems to sometimes get negative reactions out of people when I talk about their favorites. So then should I just do it positive and just talk about the books that were the highlight for me? Please comment down below with your thoughts on that, how I should go about that. Another thing that kind of came into play my reading year this year is that Cloak and Dagger Christmas of 2022 was abysmal. Like, I just kept DNFing books, trying mysteries I wasn't interested in, or reading a mystery that I just felt so about. And it was very disappointing, and that kind of kickstarted my mystery reading slump. I was hoping when I was a co-host of March Mystery Madness, it would help, and it didn't really. And then I realized I just have to ride the wave. When you have a certain genre you fall back on, it's very discouraging to not have it to fall back on. And just slowly but surely, the desire to read mysteries came back. And when it came back, basically October, it came back in full force. So I did read a couple of mysteries then. I'm reading a couple of mysteries now. And it is delightful to be craving mysteries again. So now I will kind of segue into showing you the library book haul. And I bring up mysteries because the first book is a mystery. And my mystery reading partner extraordinaire, Kate from the novel Nomad, we have too many series that we have started together. But I asked if we could read a Lady Emily mystery. The Lady Emily series is set in Victorian England, and in pretty much every book, Lady Emily travels to a different country, and I really enjoy that aspect of it. I wouldn't want one where you're just meeting new people in each book and traveling to a different country. So I like having kind of your cast of characters and the main ones you're spending time with in each book. So yes, this is Dangerous to Know by Tasha Alexander. This is, I think, the 5th in the series. So it's been a long time since Kate and I have read a Lady Emily, and I'm really looking forward to picking back up with this. Now, I also, the next mystery I'm going to show is not, I'm a little bit early. That's what I'm going to say. Hercule Poirot's Silent Night. So this is an extension of the Poirot series by Sophie Hannah. I have not read any of Sophie Hannah's Poirot books. Is this going to be as good as Agatha Christie? Probably not, but I do want to try it. I'm curious. I am skeptical about kind of extensions of series, but I'm curious enough that a free book from the library, you know, I can just check it out, and if I don't like it, it goes, either way, it goes back to the library, but just back to the library it goes. It's not taking up real estate in my home. So there we are. Now, another note about readathons. I have noticed the 4 readathons that I like to take part in each year now are Middle Grade March, Victober, obviously, Nonfiction November, and then Cloak and Dagger Christmas. And never have I had a year that they have all gone really well. This year, it was Middle Grade March that was just, it went amazingly well. I had so many new favorite middle grade books. Last year, I had a ton of enthusiasm for Nonfiction November, kind of in the months leading up to it. I had a whole list of stuff, and then I kept trying books that I wasn't enjoying, which was very discouraging. So I feel a little bit paranoid about making an official TBR with my giant list. So I thought I would show you some books I hauled from the library and a few that I definitely know that I'm reading that I own. And hopefully it will go well. So the first that I saw recommended by Grace Hammond, I think is how you say her last name. She is the host of the Old Books with Grace podcast. And more on Grace in some future videos. But Once Upon a Tome by Oliver Darkshire. He worked in Southrons, which is kind of an antique bookshop. So I love how this is made to look like an older book. And it's just supposed to be a charming and winsome book about bookselling. So kind of a book lover's dream. Yeah, and I also know Sean Bythel, I think is how you say it, The Diary of a Bookseller. That's also one that I'm interested in. So I could do for some like cozy bookish memoirs. I think that could be fun. Then 2 by Lucy Worsley. And the first one is Queen Victoria, 24 Days That Changed Her Life. And I have to say, something that made me even more interested in these is that Lucy Worsley herself narrates both of these audiobooks, and that just fascinates me. I do love a kind of focused, condensed biography. Annie Gray's The Greedy Queen. I love that so much. So this appeals to me, that it's kind of just focused on a specific element of her life or specific days, and it isn't quite so grandiose that I get overwhelmed and caught up with all of the details. So I will report back if I end up reading this. And then I have Agatha Christie, An Elusive Woman by Lucy Worsley, and I'm going to be buddy reading this with my friend Carolyn. Her channel is Carolyn's Reading Rambles. She's not active on BookTube currently, but hopefully she will be again someday. But in the meantime, I'm so excited and delighted to be buddy reading this book with Carolyn. So that will be quite a treat. Okay, then, yeah, a few more nonfiction. I have been doing American history with the boys this year and having the best time. There are so many amazing picture books that just, I think, are better than any textbook. We do have a, it's called a spine. You use a book as your spine that we're using called America Story Volume 1. And that is nice, but we've really been enjoying the picture books so much. And William Wilberforce was who we read about last week. And Peter, I let him kind of have free reign as long as I approve of the book, but just he can pick whatever audiobooks he wants. But I have decided that I want to intersperse a few biographies here or there, and there's a great Heroes Now and Then series that has great audiobooks. And so I have told him he needs to read the William Wilberforce audiobook, or listen to the William Wilberforce audiobook, and I am going to be reading William Wilberforce, a biography by Stephen Tomkins. I was just so moved by hearing his life story, and I've seen the film Amazing Grace, but I kind of forgot about him. So I was really excited the library had this, again, a shorter biography. I don't know that I'll like the writing, but the length was what, I'll be honest, it really appealed to me. So yes, here it is in all its glory, and I'm really hoping to learn even more about William Wilberforce. Then there is a new Christian book club that started up on Instagram, and this is called Every Woman a Theologian. Know what you believe, live it confidently, communicate it graciously. So this is not kind of my typical, if I'm going to read Christian nonfiction, this is not my typical thing, but I thought I would give it a try, and it is an interesting concept that I hadn't given much thought to before. I think maybe kind of the circles that I grew up in, theology was something that was very welcome to discuss and talk about, and it wasn't kind of just limited to the male sphere. So maybe that's why I haven't thought about it as much. I don't know. So I'll be curious kind of what this is like. Then the last nonfiction from the library. And this I got on a whim. I just thought, I'll try it, it'll be boring, and then I'll just give it back to the library early. But I started reading and I haven't been able to stop. So it's Passionate Mothers, Powerful Sons, The Lives of Jenny Jerome Churchill and Sarah Delano Roosevelt by Charlotte Gray. This is absolutely riveting. It's a dual biography. I am not typically interested in kind of the Gilded Age of New York, but her writing is so compelling. And I find myself so fascinated by these families. And then eventually, I'm sure we'll get to see kind of what children Churchill and FDR were like. And yeah, so I'm really enjoying this. So I want to finish this up because I think there's a decent number of holes on it. So I want other people to be able to read it. Plus, it's not going to take me long the way that it's written. So just a lovely surprise. And I love having variety in reading so that hopefully then I can not go into reading slumps. Okay, then from home, the books that I know these are for sure going to happen. The first is A London Child of the 1870s by M.V. Hughes or Molly Hughes. This is the first in a trilogy. Actually, there's a fourth book, but it's not in the box set that I have. I had the wind taken out of my sails about this because I learned about it and I was so excited for a Victorian diary, memoir. And then I found out it was published in the 1930s. So I did make a priority of it this year because it didn't count for my 25 Victorian books this year. But I thought I've heard really wonderful things about this from my friend Mitzi, and I really want to give this a go. So I think I'm avoiding it because now I'm worried it's just too good to be true and it will disappoint me, because a well-written Victorian memoir would just be amazing. So I'm hoping that it really lives up to my expectations of it. And then the other, and it will be my very first buddy read with Shelley. I will link her channel down below. And it is The Life of Charlotte Bronte by Elizabeth Gaskell. I have to say that Elizabeth Gaskell has an extremely special place in my heart for being the first Victorian author that I fell completely head over heels in love with. And so I go into this with a heavy heart, knowing that people can come down really hard on Gaskell about it. And so I've been avoiding it, kind of like the plague. But Shelley is delightful, and I am really excited that we are buddy reading something together. And I need to read this at some point. I kept putting it off. I want to know. So Elizabeth Gaskell, I love you. And another thing, a detail that I've never forgotten, here is the older Elizabeth Gaskell. In one of her letters, she said to a friend, when the reaction came out about this biography, the just viciousness of reviewers and people threatening to sue her for libel, she said, I cried and cried about this over like nothing else that has happened in my life. And that just broke my heart for her. So I'm going to do it though. It's going to be okay. And it's going to be great. Okay, then something I am slowly rereading, and that is Gentle and Lowly, The Heart of Christ for Sinners and Sufferers by Dane Ortlund. This was a complete paradigm shift for me when I read it a few years ago. Absolutely amazing book. And so I'm anticipating doing a decent amount. I have basically exclusively books on my Christmas list, and then I know I'll be getting a bit of Christmas money. So I have a whole list of books, and he has a new one that has come out called Deeper. And so I really want to read that one after revisiting this one. This is basically tiding me over because there's several books, this sort of book that I am interested in. But I thought, why not just revisit one and love it all over again? Okay, then two that are not related to Nonfiction November and not mysteries. And I just kind of on a whim from the library. This is what you can do with your library. Having fun isn't hard when you have a library card. So the first one is Swordcatcher by Cassandra Clare. My quest to find fantasy books that I can enjoy and that I don't feel overwhelmed by the info dumping. They are strong in characterization and they aren't long-winded. I say that and it's like this, but as far as I know, to my knowledge, this is a standalone. So it's interesting because it seems a bit like the the Prince and the Pauper, it's more that the Pauper is a doppelganger who willingly goes to be a doppelganger, and the Prince is just sequestered away, kind of thing. And I think kind of there's going to be some political maneuvering, and I've read the prologue and part of the first chapter. The prologue was quite lengthy. It was 36 pages. Do any of you also struggle with prologues? Because to me, it feels like backwards reading. I get very frustrated and restless, but I wanted to read it, and it was a pretty compelling prologue. I have not read any of Cassandra Clare's books. I don't really do vampires typically, so that's why I hadn't really read much of her. I hadn't read anything else from her. So I'm hopefully, I could really enjoy this and be swept away by a chunky fantasy book, because, you know, the length looks outrageous, but after you've been reading Victorian literature, like, exclusively, this is just a piece of cake, I have to say. And then lastly, The Covenant of Water by Abraham Verghese. Now, his very famous book, Cutting for Stone, I have not read, but a friend was telling me about this book, and the A Suitable Boy fan in me just heard about this. It's set in India, and it goes over 70 years, 1900 to 1977. And there's a family that has a curse that one person in each generation drowns. And this kind of literary fiction is not my typical cup of tea. So again, maybe having some variety in there. I'm really hoping to enjoy this. I definitely need to get to reading it though, because there are a quadrillion holds on this at the library. So my plan is, oh, where did it go? Yes. My plan is to first finish this and then work on The Covenant of Water, you know, in the midst of other things. I'm never just reading one book at a time. So I do have so very many books for Nonfiction November that I am interested in, but I don't want to curse my November reading doing an official TBR. And my hope is that I could do a book review for any books, hopefully books that I finish for Nonfiction November, just a really low-key kind of my reaction, my hot take on a book. And so I'm hoping to put up some Nonfiction November content, as long as everything goes okay. Thank you everyone for watching. I hope that your November goes off to a great start, and I will be back with another video soon. Bye!